Well, Kenneth Amechi is a professor of sustainable finance at the European University Institute and is now joining me live in the studio. Good to see you. Micro, small and medium enterprises sometimes it's somehow difficult to understand how they thrive and how much of support they get. But again, let's start talking about them. We understand they have over 42,000 MSMEs as of 2017. We do not know the exact figure. Perhaps maybe you can help us speak to that. How's the environment for MSMEs in Nigeria on a day that the world has asked us to take a cursory look at how the survival is being sustained?
Okay, thank you for having me. I think when it comes to the SMEs, the data says that the SMEs employ a lot of people in Nigeria. So about 70% of people or more are employed by the SMEs. But the problem here is that many of them are in the informal sector. So there are about 90% of them in the informal sector, which is a problem. So one way to help them is to bring them into the formal sector, so that way they can create more jobs. So we can't do without the SMEs as much as we want the big companies, but the big companies will still need the SMEs to function well.
And how do we bring them into that formal sector? And perhaps I think it's a better environment and also gives them some form of professionalism in that capture.
Of course, and in addition to my role as a professor at the university in Europe, I'm also the chief economic advisor to the Imo State government. And one of the things Imo State is doing through the leadership of Senator Hope Uzodimma is to focus on what we call the One Kindred, One Business initiative. So here we're encouraging kindreds, communities, groups to create businesses, but on the condition that they have to be registered. So if you're registered, then it's easier for the government to help you, it's easier for you to get grants, and it's easier for you to get access to finance. Because, I mean, if you don't have a registered business, how would anyone help you? You only depend on informal financing, which is not terribly helpful too.
But again, it all started, back many years ago in Europe. You've seen, not talking about the kindred family, episode. Masons, tailors from each family, and at the end of the day they became big businesses, and because they were well registered, well financed and taken care of. So how do we replicate that? Because we don't need to rewrite, just how do we replicate that here in Nigeria, because we have semblance of what had happened many years ago in other parts of the world.
Exactly. And then if you think about the cooperative movement, for example, which today you have the cooperative bank in the UK and some other countries, and also cooperative supermarkets, and they are very big. And the cooperatives employ a lot of people. So it's not completely new, but what is new in the case of what Imo State is trying to do is to leverage on an existing social infrastructure. Social infrastructure in the sense that the typical Igbo person is connected to his village, to his town, and they from time to time contribute to social projects. It could be a church, it could be a road network, it could also be electricity. So how do we tap into this communal spirit to create businesses? So most of the time people find it very easy to work alone, but we encourage them to work in groups. Because also in the spirit of the Sustainable Development Goal, if you want to travel fast, you travel alone. But if you want to travel far, you travel with others. And this is about leaving no one behind. We have been very much focused on individual entrepreneurship. So even if you look at the funders, NGOs, development agencies, they tend to focus on individual entrepreneurs. There's nothing wrong with that. But in a situation whereby you have over 60% of our youth unemployed, I don't think focusing on individual entrepreneurs will be the solution. An effective way is to think about group-owned businesses, and working in groups will be a quicker, more efficient way of getting people out of poverty and empowering them. But they need to be registered, they need to be known, and they need to run their businesses professionally. And that's where I think the government can provide more support. And what is happening in Imo State can be replicated in the southeast of Nigeria, because the Igbos they have a unique way of doing things. But beyond that, it can also be replicated in other parts of Nigeria, and they can call it anything they want as long as it encourages communal spirit.
And you know, trust is another thing here, because these are people who have been able to, you know, finance themselves and being able to raise their small businesses. And there you are, speaking of government trying to register them, trying to bring them together and see how far they can go by coming together. Trust. So in this conversation and in trying to ensure that they are well captured in a scheme that will protect them better, what does the government say to these people to ensure that some of them will willingly join such?
So in this case, the government is not saying, oh, there is money, come and take it, right? So you want to help those that have indicated interest, that have shown the commitment. So they have to have a skin in the game by you know, providing the initial finance. And what we are saying also is that there is money in the kindred. Think about remittances. If you want to start a small poultry farm today, it may not, 300 bird poultry, it may not cost up to 5 million, 6 million naira, right? And he can say one person might struggle with that, but 6 people each contributing 1 million naira will give you a kindred, a business. So they have to show that they are interested and they're committed, so that when the government comes, or it might not even be government, we are in a situation whereby companies are beginning to look at this as a way of their own corporate social responsibility. So helping the communities where they do business. The usual philanthropy of digging a borehole or constructing building a school may not necessarily empower people economically. But imagine a situation whereby these companies, instead of giving them these projects, instead of giving them fish, we teach them how to fish. So if you're an oil and gas company, the community can create a business in services.
So what's the catch? Because there must be something. You say they're not dangling anything. There must be something you dangle that will, that will entice and also encourage these people to say, well, I've been doing this on my own. It's time for me to walk in the pack and see how better I can sojourn.
Yeah, if you are registered, for example, you have access to finance. Recently, the Bank of Industry floated something for rural businesses. If you are not ready, you won't get access to it. And luck means they're prepared. So one of the things we are trying to do is also to invest in what we call, kind of investment readiness. And today, there are about 300 of such businesses in Imo State. So even when people are, saying, this won't happen, that won't happen, you say, well, but this community has done it, that group has done it, probably you can learn from them.
Professor Kenneth Amechi, a delight speaking with you.
Thank you.